Yes, it's Power Thursday, and we've nearly come full circle through the week. Good morning from wherever you're watching us from, the globe, Nigeria, all the 36 states of the Federation. Welcome to the Morning Brief on Channels Television. We're reaching you live from the nation's commercial capital, yes, here in Lagos. I am Bukola Koka, and I have my dependable team here.
All right, good morning, Nigeria. Good morning from anywhere you're watching around the world. I like the way Bukola said power because I don't have that power this morning, but I heard people saying just smile. I mean, it's one of those days you just wake up at the side of the bed and you're just like, oh. But anyway, we're here and we always have to be there for you. But thank you for joining us on this edition of the Morning Brief. I'm Anne Nwawadu.
So watch how we'll transform Anne.
Transform me. I need energy.
Give her all the energy and emotion. Say emotion.
Emotional.
Motivation that she needs. Well, welcome to this sunny side, this bright side of life. I'm Makayla and we have a package for you, don't we?
Yes, indeed,
I thought we used to say bumper. You've stopped saying bumper package.
That's a Bukola thing.
Okay, Bukola.
Yeah.
A rich bouquet, you know.
She's changed it to a rich bouquet.
She said bumper yesterday.
Okay, she said bumper yesterday.
So she chooses, maybe she has a timetable. Mondays. Bumper. Tuesday
bouquet.
Rich bouquet.
Okay, so which one of the bouquets that we've offered so far this week has been the high point for you?
Very good one, actually. I think it's been a very interesting week. I think the health sector conversation we had yesterday was quite telling. It's something we've always known. Some of us experience this on a daily basis. And then, you know the thing about humans generally, once you're not experiencing something, you move on to other things. So the moment you're probably at the government hospital or you're at the receiving end, maybe you have to wait in a long queue to get, health care. At that moment, you're angry, you're very frustrated and you're like, something should be done right now. And then you get that service or not, but you just move on because you have other things to do. So I'm glad that we're keeping this in the front burner because for the health workers, they say we should actually declare a state of emergency in the health sector. But the health sector is just a microcosm of a larger picture, the economy, security, and all of that, even governance as well. So what we do basically is speak on all of those issues from time to time such that we don't lose sight of the big picture as well. So yeah.
I think what made it for me is the food inflation rates that we discussed. That was Tuesday, right? Because I mean, someone said, oh, you can't do anything else if you haven't eaten. It's after eating you think of travel, you think of taking care of those around you, you think of other things, but it has to be food first. So the rising cost of food around Nigeria, it is something to be really sad about. I mean, you imagine how people who eat from hand to mouth manage, and the amount of pressure on even those who, some of you, I'm sure the pressure is also a lot, even though you have money to eat, but those around you have to also ask you for money every time. So it's really sad, and especially now that manufacturers are also crying about the cost of manufacturing goods, which is also causing a ripple effect on the economy and every other thing. So food was really important to me, and to sort this out, we have to all come together and find a lasting solution to this challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, both are very, very important. But Kadi, I'm going to queue behind you on this one, particularly because of how important the health sector is. And, checks reveal that the country is maybe prioritizing constituency projects over the health sector, with spending from this budget, for health amounting to about 640-something billion naira. But for constituency projects, about 700 billion plus have been allocated. And you wonder, where do our priorities lie? And, the President has written the Senate for a supplementary budget. I can't immediately recall the figure now, but that has been assigned also to infrastructure development. And we know what the state of our health sector is like. And, the conversation we had yesterday was quite telling, revealing how the pressure of the brain drain is, is piling up on health care workers, to the extent that there are issues of error, there are issues of, fatigue, and, the whole works, the whole gamut of, the impact on health sector. Yes, indeed, I recall also that the man from the medical laboratory also spoke of lack of infrastructure, ideal for them to carry out their work, and lack of, career growth opportunities for them to rise to the summit. Hence, it becomes quite easy to make that decision, to move to, countries of greener pastures. So we must begin to reflect on how well we're prioritizing human capital development, because there's so much spending on infrastructure development, and we could go on and on about the loops in that space. So for me, it was the health sector. But what are we keeping our focus on this morning? We'll head to the courts when political godfathers and godsons or governors and their deputies fall out. There's no telling how long the feud will last. From Rivers, we now shift our attention today to Edo State, where a federal high court in Abuja has reinstated Philip Shaibu as the deputy governor of the state. But Mr. Shaibu can't rejoice just yet, because the same federal high court, Abuja, dismissed his suit seeking to void Asue Godalo's nomination as PDP flag bearer for the governorship election. It now appears a 1-0 draw at halftime in this match played to determine the next governor of the South state. We'll examine all the implications of this political soccer for you today.
But we'll also talk about the manufacturing sector and say, let the manufacturers breathe. Amid rising inflation figures, which moved to a 28-month high of 34.19% in the month of June, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, has already listed the impact already being felt in the real sector, to include reduced profit margins, supply chain disruptions, uncertainty in planning, and reduction of consumer spending. But much more than that, the country's inflation narrative assumed a new dimension this week when the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NASIMA, pegged inflation at over 90%. Let's find out how MAN, and of course its affiliate, arrived at this figure. We'll do that on the show today.
And something bright, cheery, motivational for you also on the show this morning. If you thought that cool and conscious rap rhymes were the exclusive preserve of the Gen Zs or the millennials, then you better think again, because the beautiful ones are yet emerging. And one of such, of course, Gen Alpha, is Michaela Malaka, who joins us today to share some light and insights with us, with the powerful music that this young Gen Alpha puts out. Michaela will be joining us to walk us through the rhyme scheme later today. So Bukola is definitely moving from music to rap. And as always, we'll be providing the chair, maybe doing some dance.
Because her music is a power, and she grows it every hour.
Is that why the alpha of the hour? Okay.
I hope she's smiling today as we
lyrics.
No, those are lines from Makayla's music, not my lines. So she's going to come back.
Are you sure she's not delving into something else that we do not know?
We saw this coming, so it was music at first.
So
where's your studio located?
Just relax. If that just happens to be one of the things that you'd like to comment on today, of course, you can by writing, just pick up your phone and begin typing already. Go to us on X, go to us also on all our other platforms. Instagram, we're on Facebook, and of course, you can also send us your questions and your comments. Don't forget, our reach out handle will be showing on your screen shortly, where you can also send us your videos. And right after this time, it'll be time for the top stories on the morning brief. So the perfect day starter is unfolding already. Stay with us. And the courts held sway yesterday, beginning with Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja, who has reinstated Philip Shaibu as the deputy governor of Edo State months after he was impeached by the State Assembly. In the Wednesday judgment, Justice Omotosho declared the impeachment by the Edo State House of Assembly as illegal, unconstitutional, null and void, as it was in gross violation of the provisions of both sections 188 and 35 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Aside from restoring Shaibu, the court also ordered that his salaries and allowances should be paid to him from April when he was impeached as the deputy governor of the state. In the meantime, the Edo State House of Assembly has appealed the judgment by Justice Omotosho of the Federal High Court Abuja, which set aside the impeachment of the state's former deputy governor, Philip Shaibu. The lawmakers have also filed a stay of execution on the judgment pending the appeal. The Edo State House of Assembly had on Monday, April the 8th, 2024, impeached Shaibu following the adoption of the report of the 7-man investigative panel set up by the state chief judge to probe allegations of misconduct against the former deputy governor. Meanwhile, the Edo State government has reacted to the ruling reinstating Philip Shaibu as deputy governor of the state. In an interview with Channels Television in Benin City, the Edo State capital, a special advisor to Governor Obaseki on media and projects insists that the deputy governor remains Marvelous Godwin. And Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court Abuja has dismissed a suit by the impeached Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, and others seeking to void Asue Ighodalo's nomination as candidate of the PDP in the forthcoming governorship election in Edo State. In a judgment, Justice Omotosho held that the suit, which challenged Ighodalo's qualification because he allegedly forged his voter's card, was statute barred. Justice Omotosho held that the suit, being a pre-election case, was filed outside the 14 days allowed under Section 285, subsection 9 of the Constitution. The judge also held that even though forgery or non-possession of a voter's card was a disqualifying factor under Section 182 of the Constitution, the plaintiff failed to prove that Ighodalo forged his voter's card as alleged by them. Away from the courts now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is meeting with 134 accredited observer groups ahead of the upcoming governorship elections in Edo in September and Ondo in November 2024. The groups include 124 domestic and 10 international observers. National Commissioner Mr. Sam Ulumekun urged observers to adhere to the Code of Conduct and warned against actions that could compromise the electoral process. He also advised them to obtain access codes from the Commission to complete online registrations and upload necessary documents on the INEC website.
By our records, a total of 153 applications were received from interested civil society organizations for the two elections. After review and assessment as provided by our regulations and guidelines, 134, made up of 124 domestic and 10 international observers, met the requirements for accreditation. Another important issue with election observation, which has been of concern to the Commission, is the issue of integrity in election observation. I need to, however, bring to your attention that your accreditation may be withdrawn at any stage of the election process if it is established that your organization is violating the Code of Conduct for observers as contained in the guidelines for election observation available on INEC website.
And in Abuja still, the senator representing Borno North Senatorial District at the upper chamber, Senator Tahir Monguno, has replaced his colleague, Senator Ali Undume, as the Senate Chief Whip. In a voice vote, the upper chamber took the unanimous resolution to effect the replacement after a letter of complaint against what they described as the unbecoming utterances of the Chief Whip, Senator Undume, by the All Progressives Congress National Headquarters, which was read by the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio. The Southern Borno senator, who was conspicuously absent yesterday, has been making critical remarks about President Bola Tinubu's economic policies, economic hardship, food scarcity, and the concomitant security crisis. Mr. Undume was not only stripped of his position as Chief Whip, but the committee he co-chaired as Vice Chairman Senate Committee on Appropriations. He has been moved to chair the Senate Committee on Tourism.
Those of you who are in support of the decision by the party, can you shout aye? Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Tourism becomes Distinguished Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume.
Several calls far and near on why a senator, especially a ranking senator of the Federal Republic, will call all of us kleptomaniacs. I would like this matter of privilege to be referred to the Committee on Ethics and Privileges.
Those who believe that the party APC has taken appropriate sanctions and therefore it should not be referred to any further committee, say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Away from politics now, President Bola Tinubu has launched the portal of the Nigeria Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund, and handed out symbolic loan checks to students and some institutions. At the ceremony, which took place in the council chamber of the State House, the president described education as the greatest weapon against poverty and insecurity. In attendance at the inauguration is the leadership of the National Assembly, the secretaries of the government of the Federation, some ministers, heads of agencies, and members of the board and management of the Nigeria Education Loan Fund, led by the board chairman, Mr. Jim Ovia.
Without education, there is no development. Without education, you cannot even successfully conquer poverty, insecurity, and abuse in the society. At this stage, you may ask if you have enough funding to disburse to the students who had applied. May I answer that question?
Mr. President, I will also start by making reference to World Bank as well as the United Nations Development Goal, of which education is number 4, and of which Mr. President has recognized that.
Your Excellency, you certainly may. At this stage, we have more than enough funding. When we start to promote this properly, we will probably need more. But right now, we can disburse to every single person who has applied.
Institutions in the north of the country have been very proactive at supporting and helping their students and in providing their data to us. So that's where the leaning is currently. In the southern part of the country, there's growing awareness and there's growing interest. And I think there's been a lot of skepticism.
And just to quickly mention that there's more cherry news from that space, as Mr. Sawyer, that's the managing director of the fund, told us exclusively on our sister political program that those who have applied for the loans will begin getting credit alerts in the coming weeks. So we urge you to also watch this space for implementation and feedback from Nigerian students on how this is being done. And now to the economy. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has cut its forecast for Nigeria's economic growth in 2024 to 3.1%. The downgrade is contained in a newly released report in the July 2024 World Economic Outlook published on Tuesday. The IMF cited a weaker growth recorded in the first quarter of the year, quarter 1, 24, as reason for the new forecast. The downgrade represents 0.2 percentage points below the earlier forecast of 3.3%. The downgrade follows weaker than expected gross domestic product and growth recorded by the country in quarter 1, 2023. The IMF, however, retained its 3.0% forecast for Nigeria's economic growth in 2025. More on the economy, the federal government says it is currently looking into a temporary suspension of the 10 naira tax on sweetened sugar beverages under a 6-month economic stabilization plan. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edo, made this known when members of the National Action on Sugar Reduction, NASR, a coalition of non-governmental organizations, paid him a visit on Wednesday in Abuja. The minister mentioned that the sugar tax suspension is intended as a temporary relief measure to help beverage companies navigate the current economic difficulties without going under, but hinted that it may be reintroduced as soon as the country's economy stabilizes. And outside our shores, former presidential nomination contenders Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, who challenged Donald Trump for the Republican nomination, have voiced full support for their former rival in headline speeches at the party's convention in Milwaukee. Haley, who was greeted with some scattered boos, told the crowd, "We have to go with Donald Trump," adding that the former president had asked her to speak in the name of unity in what she said was a gracious invitation. The 4-day convention kicked off on Monday when Trump picked J.D. Vance as his running mate and made an emotional first public appearance since he was injured in an assassination attempt on Saturday. Tuesday's theme for the 4-day convention is Make America Safe Once Again. And in sports news, the 2024 quarterfinalists Nigeria are scheduled to arrive in the French city of Bordeaux on Thursday as the countdown begins for their first outing at the Women's Olympic football tournament in 16 years. The 9-time African champions, who must negotiate an interesting group that also includes Brazil, Spain and Japan, will depart Spain aboard an Air France flight and arrive in Bordeaux minutes before 11 p.m. The delegation of 18 players, 4 alternate players and officials is scheduled to arrive at the team's hotel, Mercury Abode, minutes before midnight. Quarterfinalists at the Athens 2024 Olympics, the Super Falcons last featured at the Women's Olympic football tournament in China in 2008 when they lost 0-1 to Korea Democratic People's Republic, 0-1 to Germany, and 1-3 to eventual silver medalist Brazil. And so, go Falcons. We know that the female players always bring in lots of consolation, whether it's at the Africa Games, or the Olympics, or the World Cup. So we hope that they bring us some reason to rejoice, good reason to rejoice. And what are you saying us about some of these big stories? Anne joins me now. It's Woman Power Thursday. Hello again, Anne.
Woman Power. All right, so you've been talking a lot about things happening across the country, but let's begin with some assertion coming from Mr. Mele Kyari on the Port Harcourt refinery, which of course said will start production in August this year. And the first one is coming from Enoye, who says that why was it necessary for him to emphasize that we are not lying? This statement reveals the core of the problem Nigerians have with their leaders: trust deficit in public office holder.
So for me, that also signaled an alarm bell. Yes. It could have been categorical by saying that this date or this month, the Port Harcourt refinery assuredly will kick off. But there was some, contradiction also. But this next talking point is from Moses Okpogodi. I hope I got your name correctly. And Moses says, the times the NNPC and the NNPCL had promised that the Kaduna and Port Harcourt refineries will resume operations. And Moses goes on to list the dates: 2015 August, 2019 June, 2021 March, 2022 June, 2023 June, August, November. Wow. That does something to the mind.
I hope this doesn't continue into 2024. But anyway, Yesau
2025,
says... 2025.
We're in 2024.
Let's watch and see. Yesau says that not one single number. How do you measure? When is the end of early August? What volume will be refined daily? What percentage of the total capacity is that? Any plans to upscale? How will it affect import quantity?
Absolutely. It has a 150,000 barrel per day capacity. So at what extent will that go to, meet some of the supply needs and reduce the amount of importation that we're currently witnessing. But if indeed it begins production along with Dangote refinery, which has also pegged August as a date, we think it will have some form of relief.
Yes.
Well, this next talking point is from, I believe, Aboduri Eniola Femi, who says, please, they should stop announcing when it will start to us. We are tired of failed deadlines. When it starts, we will see it. Thanks to them.
All right. Okay, I guess maybe they have heard this, and once it starts, the main thing is for it to start, right? And then we'll see a difference. Let's go to the next one on Senator Ndume's removal as Senate Whip and replaced with Senator Mohammed Tahir Monguno. And here are the points you raised on that. Sultan Balo says that Senator Ali Ndume's removal as Chief Whip was the right decision. The party made the right move. Going forward, all actions must have consequences.
Well, and that's interesting, and it helps us remember the details of the time when the previous Senator Abdul Ningi was also removed. And we wonder if these issues are the same, but they're different. We've heard Senator Ali Ndume talking in recent times about his reservations about how the government was being handled. I believe, Anne, that you have the next comment also.
All right. Sami Obasa also says that very unnecessary. It's not helping Tinubu. Tinubu, that's the president, must be ready to dissent within his party. If Mr. Ndume has access to President Tinubu, he wouldn't say he doesn't. Give him access and listen to him. President's advisors are not the best. Evidence have shown that. Okay. All right.
And this next one is from Bagudu Rinka, who says, we can't keep recycling the same group of politicians to occupy sensitive offices in our nation. When it favors them, they keep quiet. But when it doesn't, they claim to sympathize with the masses and make us feel they have our interests at heart. These people don't care about us. Well, Rinka, you may have to have evidence of whether the ranting by the senator has got anything to do with selfish interests before you can prove or authenticate this opinion, which is quite weighty. But we know that the senator has, a track record of being vocal and then being removed from his position. He was removed as Senate leader in 2018 in similar circumstances for laying accusations against the leadership of the Senate at the time.
And that's why there's been so much conversation around, so shouldn't we speak the truth? Are we not allowed to say what we feel on the floor? I mean, because there seems to be repercussion when you do that in the House.
That's why I referred to the removal of Senator Ningi, which also came with some punitive action by the leadership of the Senate. So this next one is from Oroke Tochukwu, who says, because Ndume said the gospel truth, he's now expelled. Naija, our eagle eye is on you. Well, we don't know if, has he said the gospel truth?
Well, that remains to be
out of that one.
Court reinstates Mr. Shaibu as Edo Deputy Governor. Assembly appeals judgment. We told you this before. Most experience says that no wahala. But which office him go resume now? That's which of the offices would he resume at now? His office will be under renovation until his tenure will finish. Remember, his tenure finishes in November. So what happens between now and November, since his office is still being...
Well, the PDP has appealed the judgment immediately and according to them, the status quo remains until the court decides this. And it may well go to the Supreme Court. And will it be determined before the end of the tenure?
November.
So that's another question. Osiri Undukwe says, I don't see any issue here for Obaseki. They will most likely appeal, and by the time a decision will be reached by the appeal court, Edo election will be over and a new government in. The best Shaibu can get is remuneration in retrospect.
Let's quickly go to the protest breakouts in the University of Ibadan over fees hike, power rationing. The first one is coming from someone who says that same thing might happen in other universities. PhD and MSc students are reducing in number due to exorbitant fees.
And Ogara B says, on top of this wahala, there's still no jobs after graduation. Now to go learn on trade or vocational skill to survive.
Wow. Lord Dewin Computer says that, but wait, how come it is school fee hike? They thought of this time in the country. I do not understand. Is there a spirit of wickedness operating at any bigger post in Nigeria? Because I don't know where this wickedness is coming from. I mean, sometimes we understand these people, especially at this very hard time in the country. But we hope that they both come to the negotiating table and do something, at least.
Absolutely. So, one of our talking points earlier on, particularly during the headlines, was, the announcement, the launch of the Students' Loan Scheme and the symbolic distribution of checks to beneficiaries, students and from the academic community. And we heard the chairman of the board of NEL Fund and the MD of the fund also speak at that event. So let's get a feedback from the students themselves, as Mr. Lucky Emonofe, the president, National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, joins us for conversation. Good morning and welcome, Mr. Emonofe.
Yeah, good morning. My pleasure, and good morning to viewers.
So it's good to have you as well. And, finally, this has happened. The Students' Loan Scheme has been launched. Let's get your immediate reaction to that first before we begin to delve into the feedback from, the whole body of the Nigerian Students Association.
Yeah, we are happy, we are excited. It is a new dawn in the Nigeria education sector. It has come to reality because yesterday it was for the disbursement by Mr. President to Nigerian students. So it has come to reality that Nigerian students can access higher education without passing through difficulties, or even those from a poor background can as well to access it. And that is our joy, that is our happiness, and we accept it with our hearts. And another important thing is we are going to ensure that more of our students get into it and benefit for this opportunity, because education is a key to national development, and we embrace this. It's a welcome development.
Mr. Monofe, how do people qualify for this scheme, and what is there a repayment plan, or what is exactly will be how they manage the repayment plan if there is?
Yeah, like according to the law, the act, it is stated there that you can apply for upkeep, you can apply for your fees. Your fees will be given to the school, while the upkeep will be directly given to you, like those checks Mr. President presented yesterday. He presented some to the institutions, that's the Vice Chancellor. Those are students who apply for the school fees, while the student directly are for the upkeep. While the repayment plan is after graduation, then you go for your youth service. 3 years after your youth service, you start paying. Then if you are not yet employed, even after your youth service, you will not come up by swearing affidavit to testify, a form of oath that I have not been employed. And I think those are the procedure. Then the repayment plan, you can pay 10% if you are employed, 10% from your income monthly. Those are the process.
Indeed, there are quite a number of requirements, that have been stated in the bill in the run-up to it becoming an act, and we understand that parents also have to have a certain amount of income. But really, according to the MD of the fund, about hundreds of thousands of applications have been received, ahead of this implementation. So, Mr. Emonofe, I wonder if there's a mechanism by the students' body to, sort of scrutinize the list of applications and ensure that indeed those who are getting these loans, for the pursuit of their tertiary education are indeed the vulnerable that need them.
Well, it's first and foremost, it has to be your interest. If you find it difficult that you can't afford your academic requirements and fees in higher institution, there is need for the loan. But if you can afford, you don't need it, there is no need for it. So it is only those that needs it that will get it, then government will not force you to do that. So it has to be self-willingness to get it. Then we are monitoring the process. We are part of the process and we monitor them. And there are different categories of people in the board of the NEL Fund. It's not only your institution. The NUC is there. The NCC is there. Even JAMB is there. National Identity Management Commission is also there too, to monitor, to know the information you are giving, whether they are correct or not. So those are the process we pass through, and we ensure that, yes, it is actually our students in higher institutions, because we have membership across various higher institutions as well too.
Indeed, there's still a lot of time ahead of us to test the implementation of this loan and to see, you know, after this round of students, you know, get the loan and pursue their education, how they will repay and the consequences for non-payment. And we're keeping our eyes on the process. But Mr. Lucky Emonofe, want to thank you very much for your time on the program. Mr. Lucky Emonofe is the head of the Nigerian Association of Nigerian Students. Thank you very much for coming on the Morning Brief.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
So after that quick update, we'll begin, or we'll move on to the next leg of our conversation. This time we're looking at Edo politics vis-a-vis the court order reinstating Philip Shaibu as deputy governor, and of course the counter application by the PDP and all the other court orders that may determine how the governorship election will play out in the coming months. So it's a conversation worth having and you don't want to miss it. Join us again, we'll be right back.
The judgment today has reaffirmed the foundation of democracy in Nigeria, and it has also sent a message to anti-democratic forces that their time is coming to an end. Democracy must survive in Nigeria. Democracy is what we have signed for.
Well, Edo State politics is next, and the build-up to the governorship election is dying minutes, really, particularly for politicians and the build-up to that election. And there's been a lot of activity. If you're familiar with football, you know that the dying minutes are very vital to the victory or otherwise of a team. Yesterday, there were lots of activities at the court. There have been reactions, but what does this mean? How does it significantly change the outlook for the coming election or otherwise? Well, we're joined on the program by a legal practitioner, Deputy Director General of the PDP Governorship Campaign Council, Mr. Jimo Ijegba. He joins us virtually on the program this morning. You're welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning.
Well, quite a number of issues decided at the court yesterday. Being, of course, a PDP member, you are the vanguard of ensuring that the PDP candidate wins the election and, by extension, the PDP retaining power in Edo State. But there were some major decisions taken by the court yesterday. One, former Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu being reinstated as Deputy Governor, essentially court saying that that process of his, the process that removed him, null and void. And then the one concerning PDP governorship candidate Aswe Ighodalo. But tie this to the previous court ruling that declared the primary process of the PDP as not following due process in the first place. So help us tie these three judgments together. How, well, your interpretation of them, basically.
Thank you very much. Let me start with the two judgments by Justice James Omotosho yesterday. One was the order restating the former Deputy Governor of Edo State, Comrade Philip Shaibu. Let me say from the onset that the procedure for the removal of a governor or deputy governor is stipulated in section 188, 1 to 11 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. And if you follow it, up to subsection 10 of that section 188, it clearly stipulates that the proceedings by the tribunal set up by the House of Assembly, by the Chief Judge, And the consequent procedure by the House of Assembly is not questionable in any law court. That is one. In Inakoju versus Adeleke decided in 2007 as a result of the removal of Senator Rashid Ladoja, governor of Oyo State. The court clearly stated that the court has jurisdiction to investigate the procedure and not the proceedings. I'm aware, as an active member of PDP, I followed the event very carefully of what transpired in the assembly that led to the impeachment of the former deputy governor on Monday, April 8, 2024. I have not seen the detailed judgment of Justice James Omotosho. I clearly know that the State House of Assembly followed due process and the procedure stipulated under Section 188, 1 to 11 of the 1999 Constitution. Now that judgment has been given. Rightly, the State House of Assembly has appealed that judgment. And they have also followed up with a motion for stay of execution of that judgment. As it is today, parties must await the decision of the Superior Court, the Court of Appeal, and probably maybe the Supreme Court on that matter. As it is today, when parties submit themselves to the court jurisdiction, they must exhaust all that is provided under the Constitution for you to now say, yes, you have exhausted the matter up to the apex court, which is the Supreme Court. And rightly, everyone, all the parties have to await the decision that is going to come up from the Superior Court on this matter. Because all I know is that clearly, if the procedure was right, the court does not have jurisdiction. And when I read about it and they are talking about fair hearing, I'm aware that the former deputy governor was served with the impeachment notice. He never obliged with an appearance. He sent a lawyer who now withdraw his appearance along the line. And the House of Assembly followed the detailed procedure as stipulated under Section 1.
Mr. Ejegba, are you faulting then the decision of the court?
Well, the court is not a final court. I don't agree with the decision of the court. It's not a final court. And rightly, the Assembly have exercised their right of appeal. They have filed an appeal. They followed up with a notice for stay of execution of that appeal. We have to await the decision of the Court of Appeal and probably the Supreme Court on that matter.
So, Mr. Ejegba, when you say that the court has the right to investigate the procedure and not the proceedings, I wonder what you mean by that. And, you know, some of what representatives of the PDP are quoting in subsection 188 of the Constitution is to the extent that the State Assembly, whatever constitutes, in the opinion of the State Assembly, to be misconduct, then the State Assembly can act on the impeachment of the deputy governor or an executive. But doesn't the Constitution now leave the judgment and discretion to the whims and caprices of elected State Assembly members without granting fair hearing and indeed the court the right to investigate and determine whether indeed an executive has been guilty or not?
There is a procedure that is stipulated in Section 188 from subsection 1 to 9. If that procedure is duly followed by one, if there is a notice to the person in question signed by 1/3 of the House of Assembly of that particular state, they can commence the proceedings. And thereafter, when the committee is constituted by the Chief Judge of the state and they return a verdict of guilty, then the State House of Assembly has a duty to debate it. And when it is carried by 2/3 of the Assembly, then the deputy governor or the governor stands removed. And that procedure, like I said, was followed in this instance. So I don't know the rationale for anyone to say, yes, the procedure was not duly followed. Because if you talk about the proceedings, the court does not have jurisdiction, as stipulated in Section 188, subsection 10. Now, as to what constitutes gross misconduct is stated clearly in Section 188, subsection 11 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. And that one gives the House of Assembly to determine what constitutes gross misconduct. Now, the House of Assembly has come up to say that we have examined very carefully and the rightful procedure has been followed. But Justice Omotosho, in his wisdom, has said they breached certain section of that Constitution. The Court of Appeal is now being invited to look at the proceedings, to look at the procedure followed by the Assembly. And if it complies, certainly that judgment cannot stand. And everyone has to await the judgment of the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court.
Mr. Jagbai, Mr. Shoaibu has already said, he said in the past that his removal from office was a dangerous descent into dictatorship and a threat to democracy, even with the pleas and pleas that happened. I mean, we know what happened between Mr. Shoaibu and Mr. Obaseki, and several times Mr. Shoaibu came out pleading and doing all of that. What do you think would have been done differently, preventing us from getting to where we are right now?
Shoaibu was not impeached by Governor Obaseki.
But
it is the Assembly that have the responsibility to do the impeachment when impeachable offenses are committed. And rightly, when impeachable offenses were committed, he went in. Justice is a three-way traffic. It's both for the plaintiff, the defendant, and the state. It's not for him to conclude to say that it's a descent into dictatorship. It's for the court to now find out whether the rightful procedure was followed. And if it is followed, so be it. It is a closed matter. And if it is followed like that, the court does not have jurisdiction under Section 188, Section 10 of the 1999 Constitution.
Right. So as things stand right now, you're of the opinion that, well, the IGP, because the orders were quite clear, the IGP should return his security details. So are you saying that the IGP should hold off in spite of that court judgment and all of the other?
He is duty bound to hold on. Immediately a notice of appeal has been filed, followed with a motion for stay of execution. He does not have choice in the matter. He has to await the decision. Mind you, if that court goes ahead to refuse that notice of stay of execution,
right,
the Assembly have a right to go to the Court of Appeal with the same application. So until it is one way or the other. It cannot. The IGP is duty bound to await further deliberation on that matter by Superior Court.
I just wanted to clear that out. But my focus is, the bigger picture. Really, is it too much for the state government, and talking the legislature, the executive, eat the humble pie? Because the gimmick here naturally will be, in any case, this government is almost done. So what we'll do is take it to appeal court. If the appeal court rules in favor of Mr. Philip Shoaibu, take it to the Supreme Court. Just waste time until this administration is done with its term. And in any case, it's now futile. Fine, he may be paid in arrears and the rest, but isn't that the gimmick as well? And doesn't that just speak to some of the practices that we've always condemned in governance? That, I mean, if this thing is proven to be wrong, just let it go and allow the law to run its course rather than all these tactics at the courts.
No, there is a procedure. There is laid down procedure by our constitution, by our laws. You have to follow it and exhaust it before you think about any other thing. There is no shortcut to it. When you subject yourself to adjudication by the court, you must allow the courts to run its full course before anything. It's not time wasting. He has asked for some remuneration to be paid. If at the end of the day, the final court finds that he's entitled to any payment as a result of unlawful removal, he will be so entitled. But before then, there is nothing anybody can do, because we are a government that is practicing the rule of law. When you say Nigeria has chosen clearly to be on the path of rule of law, it must exhaust the procedure provided under the 1999 Constitution, and nothing more, nothing less.
Well, Mr. Jagba, permit me to belabor the point, particularly because of the weight of allegations that the State Assembly leveled against the impeached deputy governor, including perjury, divulgence of government secrets. So if that were to be the case, and you're insisting that the court has the right to investigate the procedure and not the proceeding, isn't there anything in the Administration of Criminal Justice Act that compels the court to determine that indeed, it's not just one word of State Assembly members against the accused, such that, those allegations can be investigated and proven, to be true before he can be found guilty of the offenses, and therefore then impeachment can stand? I imagine that you would want a fair hearing to, if you were the accused, Mr. Ejegba.
Unfortunately, that is not the position of our law. The position of our law is as stipulated under the 1999 Constitution. And that has been fully exhausted. The Assembly have looked at it and found that impeachable offenses have been committed. And they so now impeach the former deputy governor. As it is today, until the Court of Appeal and probably the Supreme Court rules on the application for stay of execution and the appeal, notice of appeal that has been filed, everybody have to await the decision of the higher court on this matter.
Mr. Jagbai, let's talk about the dismissal of Mr. Shaibu's suits seeking Mr. Ighodalo's sack as a PDP candidate. Since you're a legal practitioner, speak to us about your thoughts about that new judgment and the new decision by the court on Asue Ighodalo's case.
Well, let me start from the onset to say that there are two cases. The one that was decided by Justice Iyang Ekwo and the latest one by Justice Omotosho. First, I was surprised as to the misinterpretation of that judgment by Justice Iyang Ekwo. The parties in that matter were mainly asked to say that don't conduct primary except these 378 delegates participate in the primary. Mind you, as at the time this judgment was being given, our primary was conducted on February 22nd, and the whole world watched a very transparent, free election that took place at Obi Stadium. Then we have this group of delegates who now came up to say they are challenging that except they be part of that primary, the primary should not hold. And eventually, the primary held. And later on, the judgment came. First, under Section 84, subsection 14 of the Electoral Act 2022, only an aspirant who participated in a primary can challenge the outcome. There is nowhere stated under the Electoral Act that a delegate has the locus to go to court to question a primary that has been conducted. It is strange in our law, and there are authorities from the Superior Court up to the Supreme Court, even the one we had in 2022-23 in Edo here, in Iyore and other. The Supreme Court clearly stated that it's only those who participated in a primary that can challenge the outcome. There is nowhere they say a delegate can go ahead to challenge the outcome of a primary. And the orders given by Justice Eko didn't say Asue was no longer the candidate of the party. A primary has been conducted and concluded. And in law, when an act is completed, you don't go and make an order that is unenforceable. You don't make an order to restrain an order that is completed. There are authorities from the Superior Court, the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. AG versus John Holt clearly state that an act that is completed cannot be restrained. So Justice Eko, the court is not a Father Christmas. The parties in that matter never asked Asue is no longer the candidate of PDP. They got an order that was not enforceable. Don't do primary except these 378 participate in the primary. As for the second one that was delivered by Justice Omotosho yesterday, the same Phyllis Shaibu went to court to challenge the eligibility of Dr. Asue Ighodalo to have participated in that primary. And the court clearly held that as the primary was valid, it was free, fair, transparent, and that there is no way any court in the land will vitiate that process, that primary that was conducted in Obi Stadium on February 22nd. As it is today, and as conferred by the people of Edo State, PDP in particular, on February 22nd, Asue Ighodalo remains the candidate of our great party, the PDP.
Right. Well, Mr. Jagbai, what the justice said, just to reiterate the point and put it in context, was basically voiding the February 22nd primary election on the ground that 378 delegates who were supposed to vote at the primary election were unlawfully excluded by the PDP. And if you say that actions completed cannot be reversed, we've seen even bigger actions that were conducted, even bigger elections, proper elections, governorship elections, and the rest conducted, and the courts went ahead to reverse the outcome of that election, just to put that in context. And that's why we have a court. Even the impeachment of Mr. Philip Shoaibu can be seen to be an action that has been completed already, but currently you are in court to reverse the judgment that was given yesterday, just for our viewers to follow the track of what's going on.
The point I'm making is that if you are asking for injunctive relief, to say restraint, don't conduct primary except this guy, the 378 participate. As at the time the judge was giving that judgment, primary had been concluded. He's aware. It's notorious. It's known to everybody that primary of PDP was conducted. I just
wanted to put the context out there as well, so people can follow all of the angles. But I want to bring this maybe personal. I mean, you are someone that some people say has been given a second chance of sorts. You've been commissioner in this government, at least in the previous tenure, and you're no more commissioner. But that doesn't mean that you're still not a part of the activities, particularly of the party in the build-up to the election. So some will say, well, you're someone who's been given a second chance as well. So will it be wrong to give the former Deputy Governor, Mr. Philip Shoaibu, a second chance at this stage, since you're someone who has also enjoyed a second chance?
Well, if you hold an office of trust, common sense dictates that you must abide by the details of that office you are holding. If you engage in things that will likely bring down the government by way of divulging official secrets, there is the Official Secret Act, then you are not entitled to remain in such type of government. The honorable thing one expects is that he should tender his letter of resignation and go, and shouldn't even wait for the assembly to impeach him. And if you are impeached by the assembly, like I said at the beginning, there is procedure, there is proceeding, as stated in Nakoju's case versus Adeleke. Mind you, in that case of Adeleke, it was even the legislators who went to court because some few legislators gathered in a venue outside the building of the House of Assembly to impeach Senator Rashid Ladoja. And the court said no, the proper procedure was not followed. In those cases, the proceedings took place in the House of Assembly, where the notice of impeachment was raised, served, and the man bluntly refused to make himself available to defend himself. But mind you, the Constitution also provides that you can either defend yourself in person or by a legal practitioner of your choice. And he exercised that option of engaging a professor, a senior lawyer, senior advocate of Nigeria to represent him at the tribunal proceedings. Along the line, he backed out. Then if you are talking about fair hearing, what do you mean by fair hearing? That you were served, you were entitled, you engaged a legal practitioner to represent you, who along the line decided to withdraw from the proceeding. I do not understand the context of fair hearing.
Well, Mr. Jegbai, there are so many angles to this, but I do have what I believe to be the certified true copy of that judgment by Justice Kelvin Mohammed. And it does describe the delegates as lawfully elected ward Congress delegates in their respective ward. And it says by virtue of which the defendants cannot exclude them from participating at 3 ad hoc ward at the governorship primary election, of the Edo State slated for the 22nd of February. The judgment also goes on to say, and it describes that, by the way, as a declaration by provisions of Article 50 of the Constitution of the second defendant. Now, the judge, honorable judge, also goes on to direct the defendants who are bound by provisions of Section 82 of the Electoral Act 2022 to allow the 3 ad hoc delegates to participate in the primary. So what is your interpretation of paragraphs 2 and 3 of these, this judgment by the honorable judge?
As at the time that judgment was being given, the whole world is aware that possible. It becomes an academic exercise. If you say don't exclude them in the primary to be conducted on February 22nd.
Is that your own interpretation?
The position of the Electoral Act is that it is someone who participated in a primary that can challenge the outcome. There is nowhere from beginning to the end of the Electoral Act that qualifies a supposed delegate to go to court to challenge what is happening about the primary.
Mr. Ejegba, by the provision of this honorable court, are you describing them as supposed delegates or are they lawful delegates?
They are not lawful delegates.
So you disagree with the judgment of the court that they are lawful delegates?
The ad hoc delegates election was conducted in the 192 wards. They didn't participate. They never won. They gathered themselves somewhere, like one of the judgments stated. He gathered people in his house and said he was doing delegate on his own. A student setting exam for himself, marking them, and coming forward to say, I am the one who has the authentic delegate. Issue of delegate is not justiciable. It's within the realm of a political party, domestic realm of the political party. A delegate cannot challenge any action in court. It's not, and it cannot happen.
So you also disagree with the judgment of the court that they be allowed to participate in the primary? It describes it as a declaration, by the way.
An act that was completed in February. You are making another in May, in June, July, that they should be allowed to participate. The judge knew that that primary had been concluded. He knew. And if you are now making another way into June, July, to say allow them to participate in the primary, which primary are you talking about? It is an academic exercise. And a court must refrain from making an order that is unenforceable, that you cannot enforce anywhere. So that judgment, to me, never clearly, they didn't, mind you, in their prayer before the court, if you look at the prayer that they went to court with, allow us, don't exclude us from participating in the primary.
So if it was merely academic, why is the PDP appealing the judgment?
Well, we are appealing the judgment because, one, let me state the fact now. That is a very good question. A lot of persons have asked. You say that judgment does not concern our candidate at all. Yes. For the simple fact that in future, we don't want precedent, bad precedent, to be laid, to say a delegate will wake up one day and hold a political party to ransom. That is the reason why the PDP decided to appeal that judgment, so that in future no one delegate can hide any place and hold the political party to ransom. It's not provided in our law that a delegate has a right that is justiciable in our law court.
Mr. Ejegba, yes, since we're talking about the future, because we're rounding off right now, since we're talking about the future, let's talk about the future of politics in Edo State and how this drama will actually tell the future of politics, especially knowing that this administration is already rounded off. By November, they're out, a new one will come. So laying this kind of foundation, we've seen what is happening in Rivers State and some other states in terms of politics. How would you think that the politics in Edo State going forward will play out?
Well, luckily for us, we have a governor who has performed very well. Governor Baseki has done very well for the people of Edo State. And therefore, the PDP is a brand in Edo State. Our candidate has organic support. You don't need to beg anybody to come and vote for Anaso Ighodalo or Sarojo Ogi. I can tell you that going forward, the PDP will continue to rule Edo State. The PDP will win the 21st September election clear and clear on the first ballot.
Well, Mr. Ejegba, we've heard these words before, and I hope you're not jinxing it, because the PDP at some point said it was going to rule Nigeria for decades, I think 60 years. But of course, we understand that this is politics, and politicians will naturally make these comments. And just to say that we invited the other side, that's representatives of Mr. Philip Shaibu, to also speak on this matter. Perhaps they'll join us in the coming episodes. But we'd like to thank you so much, Mr. Jimoh Ejegba. Not to forget that Mr. Shaibu is declaring support for another candidate. So we'll just wait to see how these dynamics will play out in the election. But hopefully it will stay a peaceful election.
A man who didn't win in all the elections, let him declare support for whosoever. That's why democracy is free to support whosoever candidate you want to support.
All right.
He has never won his polling unit.
Well, so Mr. Ejegba, we have to anchor at this point.
From anywhere.
Right. We have to anchor at this point. Of course, this is by no means the end of the conversation. We'll be speaking with Mr. Jimoh Ejegba, legal practitioner, Deputy Director General, PDP Governorship Campaign Council. Also, he's been commissioner in the state. Thank you for your time on the program. We'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll talk about the manufacturing sector. I can bet you that where you are right now, you have something manufactured right there with you. So what's the state of the manufacturing sector amidst the biting economic situation? We'll find out, and hopefully to get a way out. So stay with us.
All right, welcome back. This is still the morning brief right here on Channels Television. And this time we're talking about something that is affecting everyone. If you're a Nigerian, as a manufacturer, as the other one on the other side, of course, it will definitely affect everyone. It is the manufacturing sector, because in your house, I'm sure you are using something manufactured. I mean, you didn't do it in your house. So it means that there's a process to getting all of the things that we have. And there's been a figure on headline inflation, which the NBS brought out this week about inflation figures hitting 34.19%. But that figure was by NBS. How they came about that figure, well, we know how. But some parties have already rejected that figure, saying no, 34.19. Even the inflation, food inflation, which was over 40% also, which the NBS said, some parties have said, no, these figures are higher. And Nasima has actually come out to say it's actually 90%. Well, some individuals have come to say it's even more than 90%. But on the program today, we have the Manufacturers Association president, who will be talking to us on the program today, Mr. Meshoye. Thank you. Otumba Francis Meshoye is the president, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, is on the show with us today to discuss this and how it is actually affecting the manufacturing sector. Thank you so much for joining us on the morning brief. So talk to us, give us an overview of what the manufacturing sector is currently facing at the moment. How is inflation affecting the sector, so we get a sense of what is really happening, the reality actually?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate what you have said about the inflation rate, that maybe it is at 39.65 as declared by NBS. Yeah, to us, this is a misgrill in a way. A misgrill because if you want to look at the methodology adopted by NBS, you see it is accurate. Just look at the headline inflation, what is it like? And the method used is to have a basket of products and services and use a weighted average to arrive at what would be the inflation rate at a particular point in time. But if you go to specific, for instance, if you want to look at the food inflation, you will agree with me that this is not the same thing as that marginal. It's not marginal there. The astronomical increase in the food inflation will apparently tell you that surely it is not marginal. And two things really driving the drivers of inflation in the country. Mainly, you have food and you have energy. If you look at these two respectively, you find the recent time it has really shot up so much. For instance, even the tuber of yam, some people cannot afford it. From about 1,000 naira to about 3,000, they even have to find a way to really size it. So it is not the same thing like a marginal increase. If you look at the energy cost, same thing, you find that it has moved from what it used to be 65 to 225 back to 205 and back to 206, then go back to 209. If you look at the percentage of this, you find it is not marginal. 65 to 209 is about almost 4 times or whatever it is. So that is why I say it is a misgrill. And these are affected manufacturing business generally. It's really worsening the situation. Also, if you look at so many other things that has happened in the recent past. You want to look at the mediative policies that are really being around in the past 12 months. You want to look at the removal of the fuel subsidy. You want to look at the floating of products, which has led to the devaluation of Naira significantly. So all this really make manufacturing business unattractive and discouraging.
So for most Nigerians, really, it's the controversy about the association's position, and I believe that was put out by Nasima, about inflation being really at 90% and not at that 34.1%, as put out by the statistician, that's the NBS. So what Nigerians I believe would want to know is how the association arrives at this. That's if you agree with Nasima that inflation really is at 90%.
Just like I said earlier, it depends on where you're viewing it from. Two main area or methods in using to judge inflation is the headline and the core inflation. If you look at these two, most likely you want to agree with the NBS that look, it is marginal. Because this one will not take into account specifically, if you take this one globally, that's fine. But if you go to specific, try to look at what are the components that really make this basket of inflation we value. Now, we now go to look at it individually, like I mentioned, look at the food, look at the energy. You find they will not agree to marginal increase. Definitely, it is very, very much high. And so, like I said earlier, this is a mystery to us. So, then the data that which products and services that MBS is using currently in the basket are quite outdated. So if you want to look at that, you find that if you pick, because demand has shifted over time, people's demands have shifted. As economy emerges, as things are becoming realities, people are really moving from certain kind of products to another kind of products. So if it is reviewed and used properly, you are likely to find, you surely will find that it will not be a marginal increase. So again, the methodology is fine, would give you that figure, probably. But looking at specifically to speak to the economic realities of today, it will disagree to that. It will not be real.
And I think a lot of Nigerians will testify to these things. I mean, it's better felt, except that it's not better felt in this case. It bites harder. So I want us to now push this further. So for Nigerians, for example, because of the rising cost of food, instead of using tomatoes, you've heard people say they're using carrot, cucumber, or what have you to cook. That's for the average Nigerian. So I imagine what manufacturers have to do. So that means some have to drop quality, the quantity. Some have to just try to make trade-offs so they can still churn out products to make money, to pay salaries and to pay running costs. Recently, we saw factory workers in Ibadan protesting, one of the factories, major factories in Ibadan, they were protesting that they had not been paid, So I shudder to just think of what manufacturers have to do just to get by right now. But it looks like there's a silver lining because the president inaugurated his economic council and he had major manufacturers on that. So we have the likes of Dangote, Bua, and the rest. So I don't know if for you that's cheery. We had Dangote a day before, 2 days before, literally crying out about the interest rate, saying it is too high. We can't create jobs with this. So looking at the Presidential Economic Council, seeing, will I say, your people like you on that council, do you have hope? Is your hope renewed?
Thank you, Kadi. You have made the question a little bit more than one. I would attempt to really...
Sorry, I packed a lot.
That's okay. I will try to see how to attend to each of these as much as possible. Let me take it from Alhaji Dangote, an eminent business person all over Africa and throughout the world. I'll quote him one thing he said some years back, that if you are a manufacturer in Nigeria, you don't need to pray much to make heaven, because you have suffered enough, and there will be justification for you to really go into heaven or paradise. Again, in the last week, about a few days ago, when we had Manufacturer Summit, Distinguished Alhaji Dangote came there, and he made a point blank that you said that, look, we can't survive and grow our economy if interest rate is at 30%. So if you look at these two, because I'm taking you from where you're coming from, if you look at these two, yes, Alhaji Dangote is on the economy team, man is there, everything is there, fine. But these two ought to change, particularly the interest rate cannot be sustained for manufacturing business at 30%. In some places, it goes higher than 30%. So you're looking something more or less 30%. If you take this one factor this to your production cost, it has gone so much high. And the effect of this is this. One, you cannot really expand your investment. That's number one. Then number two, it means that it doesn't matter how you want to do it. You have to pass part of this to the consumer.
already consumers are constrained in prioritizing their purchases. So the consumer is further constrained in buying your products. So what do you have? Less turnover, less demand, and higher stock. With this scenario, what will happen? As you don't sell, just like we said, the issue at Ibadan, you may have inability to meet your stakeholders' demands. Salaries, wages is difficult to be paid by some companies. Some SMI are badly affected because they cannot even achieve, they can't really produce 30% cost of finance. So this means that there will be reductions in numbers of manufacturers in Nigeria. And again, those who are really struggling to produce will have lower profit, and no one invests in business as charity. You go to NGOs who want to do that. So if you are unable to do that, eventually you will have people to remove their investment and put it in other business to yield money for them. So no wonder you find that as of 2023, about 707 more or less manufacturers ceased to operate. Now we're still counting. So
it's more than that at this point?
Yes. And recently, you know about the P&G and the rest and all those stuff like that. If you had it, yes. So if you look at all this scenario, you find that the manufacturing business is not encouraging and not put on the front burner to us. Yes, being on economy team, this economy team is still very young anyway. I mean, so we'll propose policies, we'll bring good ideas that will really assist manufacturing business, which is the rich sector, because manufacturers are really employers of labor largely, and agriculture in particular. So this is very important to put on ideas. And you know, one thing about Nigeria is not about having ideas or policies, it's about implementation of the policies. So we have to find a way to see that the implementation of the policies is not is not managed at all. It's not compromised, and it is implemented as recommended to the core. This will be very important for the Economic Committee.
Yes, I've had the opportunity of working with CEOs or manufacturers who are feeling the impact of all of this in Nigeria, and you get to hear their stories about the challenges they're facing from Forex from Forex to challenges in importation, infrastructure, even, a whole lot. And you sometimes pity them and wonder how they are still going on manufacturing products. So how do you now come to the middle in all of this? You have talked about government policies and implementation. What are those areas you think that government will focus on helping manufacturers, at least help them somehow cushion the effect of what they are currently facing? We've seen a lot of them leaving. GSK has gone, P&G has gone, many, and the president is still inviting investors into this country. So what will make it attractive in all of this?
You see, as manufacturers, when we look at so many things, it doesn't look real in a way. When you have a climate that is as volatile as this, difficult for you to project, because your projection business is based on long-term plan and short-term plan and medium-term plan. Even your short-term plans is not predictable. So it's really not helping investment in the first instance. So trying to get FDI or whatever kind of investment to manufacturing sector is not an ambitious thing. It's not really encouraging. So that's number one. So the government needs to now change and look at things in a different way. For instance, we have been of opinion that you can't have a panacea for all the economies in the world. Each economy differs on its own. Nigeria's economy should be looked on its own and look at what kind of things to make it work. The orthodox monetary policy could be fine, but maybe in some instances it has to be tweaked to ensure that it meets what will work for Nigeria. So you need to have the economic policy, monetary policy, and fiscal policy to work together. The synergy should be important. For instance, if it is necessary, let's say it is necessary to have interest rate at this MRP at this 26.25 or something %, and therefore interest will go up, then there should be a fiscal policy that will soften the effect for certain sectors so that they will not be negatively impacted. That's very important. Then security is general. And if you don't address this, it's a problem. Government is trying, but we have to do more to be sure that security is adequately addressed and people can go to farm, go to agri system, go to businesses without problem. Because by businesses having to pay for security has increased the cost. Roads, infrastructure, I know these things are important. They are very important. If we have said so many things, there's many things about this several times. You want to look at the tax. The tax reform policy, fiscal and monetary, fiscal and tax reform committee having submission, it will be necessary that this is implemented. Like I said, it's not about bringing to the table ideologies or policies or proposals that could work. It's actually about implementing them properly that works. This should be properly implemented. And government should not go on increasing taxes at this time. It is not ideal. It is actually to see that the tax net may have to be widened so that people who are doing business that are not being taxed are brought into tax nets so that it can increase revenue. Again, importantly, is that people believe that there is no subsidy again because these are really made the cost of energy in terms of NGO and things to have gone so much. So if the subsidy be removed, so what they will do with the fund we got from this policy removal? People are really asking, can you tell us how to deploy this fund we have saved from the policy subsidy removal into certain specific area that will benefit the masses? Cost of governance too. We discussed that. Because what we do in manufacturing business, immediately this happens, you want to look at your operation. You want to see how efficiency are you operating. So it's important to look at the operation, the way we govern, and to see how to restructure it to ensure that efficiency is actually there, maintained. So cost of governance needs to be reduced as well. Then more importantly is the patronage of Made in Nigeria.
So it's essentially it's your reservation. Your reservation is about the implementation of what you consider to be the tailor-suited economic policies for Nigeria.
Yes.
But if we look critically at government, it may not be without effort as far as, attempts at stabilizing the economy is concerned. We could talk about the national support, household support program. And we also read just today or yesterday that the federal government is considering a reduction of the 10 naira sugar tax for manufacturers. I wonder how far 10 naira would go for manufacturers in the light of the circumstances. And we could also talk about, the earlier policy of lifting of the ban of 43 items from accessing Forex. So when you aggregate all of these approaches, at stabilizing the economy, what is the final outcome on the impact of the operations of manufacturers? And in that mix, perhaps you also want to tell us whether or not manufacturers are finding it easy to access Forex from the CBN. We've had cause to ask this question to put it through to the man president a few months back. And he said no, that they're getting their Forex from the Bureau de Change operators like all the others. I wonder if that has changed. So 2 in 1, all of these policies, and if manufacturers are accessing Forex from the central bank.
Okay, let's talk about the Forex. There's Forex there, but it's not sufficient. And when it's not sufficient, you find that the rate is going up. So what people is being said is that, okay, there's Forex. It's not sufficient. So it's not meeting the demand of the manufacturers. We have tried to propose that, can you try to prioritize manufacturing in allocation of Forex, and you publish it so that people will know that who gets what. So it should not be that I do not get what I get. Let's publish it. That's number one. Then interest rate too should be addressed. Can you prioritize the manufacturing sector too? This is very important because if you have the capitalization of bank is good. If you capitalize, okay, there'll be much more fund. But how much of this fund goes to the manufacturing business? Because it's easier to give money to traders than to manufacturing. Then at what interest rate would this be?
Beautiful, we thank federal government, okay, 75 billion for the manufacturer and things like that. But again, implementation, it should come like yesterday. Because this was about how many, about 12 months ago or 11 months ago. Beautiful. But each one to assess 1 billion. What 1 billion will buy at that time is not what you purchased currently.
So but is it even been implemented now?
Yes, it's not. We have not gotten it. We have applied, we have done that. The process due diligence is going on. Beautiful. But the point is, it could have come like how many months ago? It should be like immediately it is announced, in the 1 to 3 months it's implemented, we see it, and so on. So definitely 1 billion at that time is like talking about, you need about 3 billion, because at that time exchange was about 600 something, it's 1,500 plus now. So these are the things you will look into that. But now, looking at what government is doing now, okay, you can give 10 naira reduction is fine, okay, it helps maybe minus 10 naira in sugar, okay. We can see how much this will really benefit each one of us. Anyway, if it is 2,000 naira, maybe it is now 2,000 naira and 90, 1,000 naira and 90, okay, fine. The two of us will know what it is, but it's nice. Anyway, you always be thankful for whatever you get. But we need to do more than this. You see, the view of manufacturers is this: government needs to do much more research. Okay, we have research, raw materials development agency, is fine. But we need to really go to see that our research is commercially viable. Government needs to look at sectors that really needs to will give value. If the intention of the government is, one, I want to reduce my forex, okay, I want to get more people employed, which of the sectors will help us to achieve this? So this sector should be concentrated upon. Not only looking at them, giving them money to buy business. In what environment are they going to do that? Where they could get their goods, okay? Are they still importing a lot? What can we do to reduce the importation? How do we assist them to do backward integration so that they will not, in the next 5, 10 years, need to import? It can't be a quick approach. There's a quick approach you do. Then, just kind of before you come in, then more importantly, this policy, if possible, should come as a law, so to speak, so nobody comes to change it tomorrow.
Okay.
Otherwise, you have a somersault. So, President Tinubu could be well focused. We trust him, we believe in him. I've said that severally, because he came in, he has a vigor, he has a vision, he has a passion. Okay, he just needs to have people who share the same view, not only by agreeing, but by practice with him. Who really wants to go, so look, you pick me to do this job. I want to deliver on this job. Like he wants to say, look, I come to you to be the president. So it is my duty. So if everyone say that, look, it is my duty, then we'll be able to achieve this. So they should go down, not quick fix is fine, but you need to go down to say, what do we do in the long run to solve this, and the voter to concentrate on this. And it's I don't know, it's a downer to hear that 75 billion that was announced last year. Is it 75 or 90 billion? Yeah, there are two, 75 and 125. This
micro.
Yeah, micro maybe they are assessing, but manufacturer for the we're talking of manufacturer. Yeah, we have applied. They're doing fine. We have applied. We are doing that. Looking at it, because you could really need the money now. You could really use those funds now. Even the household support program, when the announcement was made, it was also said that a manufacturing stabilization fund will rejuvenate up to 250 companies and deliver lower cost, long-term facilities to large, medium-scale, and light manufacturers. I think the range was between 9 to 11%. So if you've not gotten the one announced last year, only God knows when you get this one. But on a final note, so I know the manufacturing sector is like subsectored into other sectors, FMCGs, for example, and others. People feel the pinch more with FMCGs, because they go to market and they want to buy food, for example. They want to buy seasoning. They want to buy a sachet of this, things that are related to food. So in terms of trying to target the different subsectors within the manufacturing sector, I don't want to cause fight and say which one should be prioritized. But basically, how should the government do it such that people begin to feel it as quick as possible? There's also the withholding tax aspect, which the government said manufacturers would not be charged. Maybe that will reduce costs. But speak to us about, if we want the people to feel this as soon as possible, which do we target first? Is it FMCGs, and what should be done ASAP? Thank you, Kathy. This is a very tactical question, but I'll be frank with you. One sector alone will not solve the problem. If you go on to the food and beverages and things like that, yes, you will be seen to have been solving problems. if you're able to solve problems here. And you'll be seeing because I can go to the market, maybe it's a bit fair and it's cheaper. This is very important. Food, health are very important. But food alone will not take you to work. You need to ride on a car to go to work. Food will not bring you the light. It will not bring you clothes. Okay? So you need to look at this one, and government should do some of them more or less parallelly. It won't be, I'm doing this, I'm leaving this. Because the emergency of the economy does not make it possible for you to just do one, concentrate on it, and I'm coming back to the others. By the time you come back, this will have gotten worse, and this will have no value. So you want to look about three that you can do to really rejuvenate the economy. You want to do food, you want to work much on the textiles, you want to work on the pharmacy, right? Then, like I said, I don't think we should do more of facial or cosmetic, sort of a cosmetic and things kind of a thing. I think we should do much more of the real one. While you are doing your cosmetic work over there and people are getting happy, you want to look down and look at the drivers. What could make me sustain this? And we have been one of the, and I will say, re-emphasize again, injection of horn, all those tall in the forest is good on its own. That is not sufficient because you should have, you can't give what you don't have. That's it. You must have that business to generate the export. And you must make it competitive. At our interest rate, it can be competitive. Even locally, you are not quite competitive. Regionally, you will not be competitive. And on a close mark on that note, by the time you are opening a region, because we are just doing GTI 2 days ago, which is beautiful, but if other goods are coming in at a cheaper rate, then believe you me, they will not be able to be competitive. So it is an imminent thing. It is something we have to do like yesterday. And manufacturers are willing to support the government.
Yes, I like the fact he said we should look at the root cause of some of this. For example, manufacturing sectors where you need cornstarch to make drugs. Some of these people can work with local farmers. We talked about Research Institute. How can they all come together to find what we can get here so that we don't have to spend a lot of forex importing goods to help the manufacturing sector? Well, we do not have time, but I guess we'll bring you back on the program to talk about that part where we talk about the root causes and not just the cosmetic finishing on the sector. Thank you very much, Otumba Francis Meshoye, as the President, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Thanks a lot for your time on the Morning Brief.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, thanks.
All right, we'll definitely be back with more. We have coming up a music artist who we've called the Alpha Gen. We'll find out what that is about in just a moment. Stay with us.
So when you hear those rhymes, you know that, poetry, rap is not the exclusive preserve of the old guard or even the Gen Zs who are taking up space right now. So the beautiful ones are being born. And we always do due diligence to bring them to you on the program. So ladies and gentlemen, our young guest for today is Michaela Malaka. Let's welcome her to the Morning Brief on Channel TV.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hello, how are you doing, Michaela?
I'm fine.
Now, you've been busting rhymes. I've been listening to you, Michaela. Have you been listening to Busta Rhymes or 50 Cent? Who have you been listening to? How long have you been rapping?
So I've been rapping for about 5 years. I started... Well, it's complicated. So I started off as a singer, but I slowly drifted into rap later in my career. And I can't really listen to many rap artists now because they're not really appropriate because of bad words and stuff like that. So that's why, I really want to do this so that children can listen to appropriate music that is also good and fun as well.
You've been rapping for 5 years.
Well,
so you're 12 years old now.
Yeah.
So that means you were rapping or even singing before that time for when you were 6. Wow. So what was your inspiration? Who were you listening to? Do you write your rap lines yourself?
Me and my dad write it together, so we brainstorm and everything and go through the lyrics with me and everything. So I understand and My inspiration is Michael Jackson. So I remember in my school, they had like a fun day or something. And they called my dad to dance on stage. And he was dancing to a Michael Jackson song. And he was doing Michael Jackson moves. And it was funny. So on our drive back, I was like, who is that person that you were dancing to? Because I actually liked his music. And he was not like he's Michael Jackson. And I found out that he was like one of the most popular people ever. So after listening to some of his stuff and watching his performances, I was not like, oh wow, I want to be as popular as Michael Jackson. And since then, I kept telling my dad, oh, when can I do music? Who's going to produce my music? All this stuff. At first, he thought I was joking, but then when I kept like insisting for years, like maybe like 2 years or something, he finally got people to do a song with me. And after I did that song, they're not like, wow, she's actually really good. Maybe she should like take this up seriously. And then that's how we proceeded to do an album and stuff like that. So that's how it's been going.
Yeah, you're so adorable. I was just smiling.
All the while you were talking, she was like, oh my God.
It just reminds me of my niece also. I mean, that's how you know that your alpha gen, I'm still trying to get used to that, your age group, you guys are so talented. And you'd begin to imagine how all of these even came to you. I know you've talked about Michael Jackson inspiring you and all, but before then, did you even think that you liked music at all, or you liked rap at all?
Well, my dad was an artist.
That is it. Then it influenced you then?
Yeah, so like...
I see what's going on here.
You see?
So you're trying to avoid the problem, but go ahead.
Okay, so my dad was an artist. So I'm guessing that inspired me as well. But before the whole Michael Jackson stuff, I did not see myself like becoming an artist.
Okay.
But I guess because of my dad, I wanted to, but I did not see it becoming like a serious thing. Yeah.
I think it's really beautiful what you're doing, particularly because you realize that for some people who are maybe watching you right now, they're thinking, when I was 12, what was I doing? You know, and they see you and they're like, yes, this is how it should be. I mean, big shout out to your parents, your support system, because obviously you're not doing this alone. It means you have a huge village, as we say, behind you. Incidentally, or not incidentally, it's quite interesting. Michael Jackson passed on in 2009. You were born 3 years after Michael Jackson passed on, and that's the beauty of influence. He did all he could do. He went all out. Funny enough, he started at a very young age as well. I'm sure you've read all of that about Michael Jackson. So, well, it looks like you're picking quite a number of things. So I'm interested in your village. So there is the you, and there is a village behind you. So speak to us about the village that is supporting. So there's a saying, it takes a village. That's where I'm borrowing the term village from. So speak to us about your team, your parents, the people that are pushing you, helping you, shaping your decisions, but basically protecting you in this very, very tricky world and ensuring that you come out to be the best.
So I have my parents, my manager, my producers, and all the people supporting me on my different social media pages, and God.
Right, it really does take a village. So your parents, how does it work? Because you have to balance this with school. Yeah, I know school is on, I think, are you done with this semester?
I'm done with school now.
Not semester.
Semester.
What do you call it?
Term. No, term.
Forgive me.
You're done with third term now.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. So you're done with this third term, so it's summer for you now. Well, how do you manage this? Because I went to your page, I saw you doing stuff about SpongeBob, and I'm like, okay, this must have taken a lot of time. I saw you doing another thing about Ashley and all of that, and it's quite interesting how you churn out content, and you have to write this with your father, so it takes time. You have to learn the lines, you have to birth it. So how do you balance it with school and homework?
So I have a schedule which is mostly on the school side, so it's pretty balanced, but some like one day a week or on a day in the week I go to the studio. Like on 3 days I have lesson, and every day I study, so yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure you're smashing school as well.
Yeah, and we can't commend your parents enough, because I noted that you said earlier that there's some rap content that you can't listen to right now, and that speaks to a lot of guidance, about, what you're writing, what you're listening, and what you're producing, and that's a lot of work there. And the fact that you're combining this with school as well, it also says a whole lot. And I'm sure some of your friends from school may be watching you right now, and even if they're not, they can just go to your page and see that Makayla is a star. She writes rap, she sings rap, she's a growing artist. So how do you cope with all of that attention, being a star, a young singer, rapper amongst your peers?
Okay, to be honest, there's like nothing different. Like, they don't treat me any different, they treat me the same, almost as if there's nothing different at all. It's just the same.
It's the same.
Yeah.
But you're a star, right? I like that you're humble.
I like that fact. So, Michaela, you're a star, and you'd only go up from here. That's what we know. I mean, with all the aura around you already, I feel it. I know it. Don't worry. But let's talk about those listening to you right now in your age group who have probably found a talent, but they're too scared to talk to their parents, or they're wondering, if I talk to my parents, what will happen? They think I'll be very unserious in school. Talk to them about how you balance things. I know we've asked you that, or what they will want to hear to encourage them to go for whatever it is they believe in, to make them happy. Because at the end of the day, whatever we're doing, we have to be happy in it, right?
Yeah.
And get the necessary support. So just speak to that little child watching you right now.
Okay, so I just want to say to them that they should never ever give up on their dreams. And no matter how tough it gets, that they shouldn't give up. They should be consistent, and they should also come to my concert.
They should come to your
concert.
Oh, concert! When is the concert?
On the 27th of July at the Balmoral Hall. In Federal Palace.
In Lagos here.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
You have to give it to Makayla. She's brilliant. She put that in. And I must say that I quite admire what you're doing. First, you are very conscious about your music. At least your team and you're conscious about your music. You have your target audience, the young ones who cannot listen to explicit lyrics from rap music, but they can listen to your music. You do things like alphabet song. You basically break it down to young. So I'm excited about that. And the fact that you're bringing other young celebrities across the globe, right across Africa, I could see some of this, celebrities, young celebrities coming to your show. So it's quite good what you're doing. But I want to still talk about your village, particularly your dad. So your dad is, a lot of people are probably going online to search, who is Makayla's dad? Is this someone I know already? So there you go. Those are
Makayla, dad, and mom.
And for people who know about production, they probably know your dad, right?
Maybe.
Do you want to tell us who your dad is?
So, my dad, is an engineer.
Right.
And he also, is in entertainment as well. Right. Before, he used to rap and create videos and do shows, but now not really anymore. I'm guessing he's focusing on me.
On you?
Yeah.
What's your dad's name? Again, let me push this. So maybe people can then realize, oh, that's her dad. So what is his stage name?
Stage name?
Yeah.
Yes, so, he has a nickname and he goes by Manny X.
So
Manny
there you
X.
go. If you've heard Manny X in the building, that's your dad. So for people who are wondering, who is her father? How is this girl doing amazing stuff? So you understand all of the work that is going into it. And it speaks to just how much parents need to support their children, ensure that you give them the very best that they need, not just education, but all around that. So speak to us, how do you write a perfect rap song? Imagine some of us are your students now, and we want to write a rap song. What are the ingredients? What do you put into a perfect rap song or rap music?
Okay, so first of all, my producers come up with a beat.
Yeah. So you need a beat one? Okay, let me write that down.
A beat.
I'm taking notes here. Please go ahead. One, beat.
Number two?
Then we listen to it a few times.
Okay, listen to it a few times. With your dad?
With my dad.
Okay, I'm not sure my dad will want to listen with me, but okay, I'll write it, listen a few times. Go ahead.
I'll come up with an idea, like a theme on what to write about.
Come up with a theme?
Don't mind her. Just go ahead. Just go ahead.
Go ahead.
And we now start writing, come up with ideas, brainstorm, and at the end of the day, finish the song, go through it.
You're going too fast, Makayla.
Kayode, how are you coping in school? Kayode, how did you
I'm not using shorthand, I'm writing longhand. But go ahead, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
We write, we go through it, we edit any things we want to edit. And yeah, we make sure it's understandable.
I like that, understandable.
That younger people will be able to understand and it will inspire many people around the world.
So, Kayode, you must write bars for Makayla.
I'm still taking notes, please. When it's time for exam or test.
You must write write rap bars for Makayla to go through and, you know, proofread and she'll score. Yeah.
Are we up for that?
Makayla, so you can freestyle something?
Oh, well, before Makayla's freestyles, but perhaps you could talk to us about We Can Do It, you know, the song that is on right now and, you know, how it came up, what the inspiration for the song, and then maybe do some lines from it.
Okay. So We Can Do It is basically to say that you can do anything you set your mind to for everybody, and you should not give up on your dreams, and you should never give up, be consistent and stuff like that. So that's what it's about, to inspire people and make them not give up on what they want to do.
I'm sure you wrote it alongside Dad. Brilliant. So let's hear some.
That was big on television.
And Makayla's got a dose of the rap culture attitude as well.
Makayla, I heard that, and that's a different Makayla. You're so soft-spoken right here. What gives you that ginger? Your steez there is totally different. How do you do it?
I don't know, it just happens.
It just happens. It's like how when they say, oh, and how do you read the news? They say it just happens.
It's like Superman. So, you know, Superman is just an everyday guy. But when it's time, it just goes, takes off the shirt and becomes Superman.
Oh,
okay, so switch for us now, Makayla. Let's have that attitude and some rap lines.
I like the part where it's now I'm big on television. Because you're on television right now.
Yeah. Okay, so to be honest, in my morning voice, it's not the best because I'm not a morning person. But I'll try.
You're not a morning person.
At all.
So you're nocturnal?
So, well,
same as her, actually.
We're the same, don't worry. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but I'll try anyway. Okay.
Should I give you a beat? Or should I change it?
That's okay, just. I know we gon' make it, cause every opportunity we gon' take it. Yeah, the problems we cannot erase it, but we got the power that we need to face it. They can never hold us back, we will fight and we will let it. They may try to pull us down, well they might as well forget it. We are conquerors and leaders and fighters and kings, and we cannot lose if we win from within. It's a time you just need to show up and keep putting in the time right until you blow up. Just like me, don't have to wait to grow up. Let's keep going up and make sure you don't stop. Day's a different day, just make sure you keep on winning, getting better every day. Yesterday's a competition, don't let no one ever tell you you can do what you envision. Look at me, little girl, now I'm big on television, yeah.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Makayla.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
This is power. I love that girl power.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Makayla.
They don't want you to go. Let me
I don't want you to go,
They don't want you to leave. They want to keep you.
But we've got to go. Thank you so much for gracing us with your inspiration, with your youthful elegance, and with your beauty on the show.
Thank you very
You have
much
our
for
best
having
wishes as you continue to shine, and we hope to see your name in the bright lights of Nigerian music. Thank you so much.
You have a new album out?
Yeah.
What's it called?
12.
12. So you name your album.
The age I
The
turn,
age you're
yeah.
in is brilliant. I love
And it's
that.
streaming, right?
Yes.
On all platforms.
All platforms.
So go ahead and listen to Makayla Malaka. Makayla Malaka on all platforms. 12 is the title of her album. And so that's our show for today. We'll be back again tomorrow for another bumper package.
Oh, gosh.
It's bumper package again.
It is actually
Indeed.
bumper package.
I'm Bukola Koka.
All right, thank you very much for watching. I'm sure Makayla has shown you that if you can dream it, you can do it. So thank you for watching today's Morning Brief. I'm Anne Nwawadu.
Well, Sunrise Daily is next. So stay with us right here on Channels Television. We're going to keep rocking with Makayla. Goodbye. I'm Kyle.